And good morning. It is now 10:51, as I've stated in lots of my promotional announcements. It's bright, sun's out, but it's definitely not early. Okay, this is a Friday morning pre-Curse-Rrr. What's that guy trying to say, George? Yeah, Friday morning precursor show. It's precursor to Saturday Night Wise Band Say. We get filthy. This is PG rated for explicit language. And if you have kids around when you're ready to watch this video, lock them in a cage in your basement or do whatever with them if you don't want to hear the stuff that's coming off from these morning shows. Don't really lock them in your basement, but, you know, send them to do their homework or send them on a bicycle ride or they should be in bed, keep them in bed, that kind of thing. A lot of developments have come since my more recent announcements. I ended up making another announcement last night, kind of in the middle of the night, because I thought about this a while, and I really think that social media sites, especially ones like Facebook, they literally put a curse on people, so that the more that they use them, the more self-absorbed the people become. It's actually happened to me from being on places like Facebook and stuff. The more apathetic they become, they don't care about things that they should be caring about that are important. If you start telling them, hey, I'm trying to tell you something important or get you to spread something important, and you get no response, and I get no response and stuff like that, and kind of call the person out, then they get really, really, really pissed off, as if they've been sharing every piece of music that I wrote, that I put up on the internet, and everything that I do, and I had no right to call them out. And that's so, yeah, I do believe that there is literally a curse, because a lot of people are not even considering God in their life. God has given them a strong delusion. What happens in those strong delusions, in that apathy, in that self-absorption, everybody share what I've got to put out there, but I'm not going to share what you got to put out there, is, despite my filthy mouth and a few other things that I do sometimes, because we're all human, even after we've prayed for repentance and forgiveness. It's been very clear to me for quite a while that I'm one of God's anointed that is supposed to send these kind of end of days announcements to suggest what you should do. Of course, you should always pray about these things, but I mean, things that you can do using wisdom, dog's always getting herself caught on crap, using wisdom learning how to prepare for emergency disasters, which happen during apocalypse, apparently, obviously, and all kinds of crazy, wild, chaotic things that are going on in the world that you see today. If you're not prepared with emergency food, emergency water, emergency plans, then you're not using wisdom, and all the praying in the world is not going to help you very much. It'll only help you at certain levels where God sees you either need to learn something or see that you should be rewarded for following His will, however He decides. So you're going to get all kinds of off-grid technology, survivalist sort of tips on these morning shows, and some of the comedy will be based on a lot of the things that are going on. They coined the name shock political commentary, when people will just say anything that's the truth, even though it'll piss lots of people off. And so that's what I am, aside from a Trenches for God person that tries to make sure starving people eat, and give drug addicts on the street little pieces of advice once in a while, and all things that God would have you do. Again, aside from praying for them, of course. And so Trenches for God is totally humanitarian efforts, where all kinds of people are down and out, and somebody that represents Trenches for God is not going to ask you for a single donation. Everything that we have to bless somebody else that needs something, God gives it to us. We don't go and say, send your money and this and that, and we'll give you a t-shirt if you give this much. And no, we don't do that. No. Okay, so moving on, we've got some pretty interesting stuff here for you. We, of course, have the part that I fucked up your music series, where you play a song, or I play a song the best I can, but there's mistakes, and you invite the celebrity that has to do with writing or singing the song to come on to the show and tutor you in the spots where you messed up, in comical ways, where they roll their eyes back when they get frustrated you're still not getting it, and walk away, and sighs, and call you names or whatever. In that sense, you have them come on the show and be part of the entertainment. The entertainment part is going to help keep you interested in the serious information and news part. First on the list here, murder hornets. Anybody that has received these different articles and saying how scary they are, and how bad it is that you see these murder hornets around. They call them murder hornets when they're actually called casita killers. They're just a predator after casitas. They're so docile that you could make a pet out of them. We've had one flying around here last few days off and on. The dog will try to chase it around like she chases around anything else that moves, a hummingbird, a dragonfly, snapping at flies and stuff like that, like a typical dog would. And the hornet just flies a little higher where the dog can't reach it, totally ignores it. If they were as dangerous as those articles try to make them out to be, then it wouldn't do that when the dog's attacking it. All your smaller versions of hornets that make the big nest, they're dangerous. If a dog attacked a hornet that was near the nest, she'd have a whole friggin' swarm of hornets on her, and just like that. They're dangerous. The great big ones, they're docile, they're friendly. One it stared me in the face for a few seconds, and just went about its business and everything. Yeah, real fucking dangerous they are. So don't believe that story about the murder hornets. They don't murder anything except casitas, and that's it. I'm sure if they did sting you, it would hurt, and if you're allergic to bees, then you'd have to go get an EpiPen or whatever. But other than that, they're just friendly little creatures. Do what they do. Okay, Louisiana Mud Cappuccino recipe. I'm going to get you grab up on something to give you an example here. One sec. I keep stuff off to the side because the dog has a lot of energy and knocks a lot of stuff over, so I keep it out of the reach of where she can snag it with her leash and knock it to the ground. Okay. Cappuccino was invented as a way to use old coffee that's been sitting there heating all day, and it gets darker and darker and tastes kind of burnt and stuff like that. Uh, and that's how cappuccino was invented. In order to use it up, they put lots of extra cream and maybe hazelnut or almond extract or vanilla or whatever their flavoring is, and then sometimes they put whipped cream on top or marshmallows or whatever they do. You know what they do with cappuccinos. And so yeah, you got old coffee, and you mix a lot of stuff in it and put some extra sugar in there to take away all that burnt taste and old coffee kind of taste, and that's a cappuccino. Of course, now they have all these powdered mixes and things like that, or if you're in a custom coffee shop, they actually do it the right way, but they don't use old coffee, they use new coffee, for the most part anyway. The other thing is, in Louisiana especially, let's say you don't have any ground coffee to percolate up, and but you got some backup instant coffee. It gets humid enough where if you're not thinking about it and you leave this lid off from the instant coffee container, then you start, because the humidity gets in there, it starts getting little chunks of instant coffee. And then the further you get down to the bottom, the humidity's still in there. It's just one big block of barely can get any coffee out of the bottom. And what you do in that case is you pour your hot water directly into the instant coffee container, and it makes an espresso strength mixture out of the instant coffee. Very, very, very strong. You kind of water it down just a little bit, but you don't have to water it down all that much, because the original cappuccino was always strong coffee with just tons of sugar and cream and flavoring. So looking in the bottom of that, I still got some left to do some of that mixture and make a cappuccino, because that was based on the heat and humidity of Louisiana, and it does it to your sugar and all kinds of other things that you keep around, your spice jars, anything that gets that heavy Louisiana summertime humidity in it is going to become solid as a rock eventually. So I named the recipe Louisiana Mud Cappuccino, and this is where you would take whatever flavoring. I usually get hazelnut. It's one of my favorites, but I also do vanilla sometimes too. And the extra creamer. Sometimes they have flavored creamers, as you know, as well. But what I do with it is I have a bag of marshmallows that a kid gave to me, and I usually don't use marshmallows in much of anything. For the most part, they're all right, but you know, I just I never use them very much. So instead of whipped cream, I put on the top a bunch of marshmallows, enough to coat the whole top of the cup. After I've mixed the sugar and creamer, and I get already flavored coffees on the side of regular plain old coffee, so I have variety. And so that's Louisiana Mud Cappuccino. Very strong coffee, lots of sugar and cream and different flavors, just like you do with the original cappuccino recipe. You can variate the flavorings according to your own taste, but the whole idea is it's so dark and strong, and it looks like mud, and the idea of the marshmallows thing came from me while I'm sitting here living in Eunice, Louisiana, and I named it Louisiana Mud Cappuccino. Typical ground coffee that I get. I'm going to show you the dark roast here. because their employees get a cut when they sell tons of this coffee. It's like a real fair employee payment system thing that they have that I think a lot of companies should do. There is some companies that do it. More companies should do it. It actually helps the people at the entry level that aren't getting paid as much. It gives them an opportunity and incentive to make a little more money. So Community Coffee here, Community Coffee is a company that does that as far as coffee companies go. And I like it when companies do that for their employees. So unless my budget is like way low where I gotta buy the store brand coffee or something like that, I'm gonna buy Community Coffee. Last show I showed you the campfire percolators. They come in a variety of sizes. The downside is it takes longer than a house percolator, and you can't set it for a specific time in the morning just before you get up. So, but the upside is if your electric is out for days and you have a campfire percolator, you're still going to have your fucking coffee. That's just the bottom line with that. And coming up in just a couple minutes, probably on part 2 of episode 2 of the Friday morning Pre-Curse-Rrr show, we're going to do Stray Cats song and tell stray cats, there's only 3 of them, that I fucked up your music. Hey, come on here and show me your classical jazz, rock and roll, guitar fingering tricks, so that I play your music better. We're going to talk about the Facebook curse and a little more update on the Facebook ban where they banned me for quoting Tom Cruise character Maverick in Top Gun, being a smartass to my friend. My friend and my other friend and several other friends got the joke when they saw it. Facebook didn't get the joke. The post was kind of a thing on a conspiracy sort of topic with lots of secrecy and stuff like that. The smart-ass comment when my friend asked a question about it is if I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you. A line from Top Gun. To kill you was tracked by the automated Facebook system that looks for people who violate community standards, flagged me, and of course I said disagree with this decision. It was taken out of context, and they held the ban anyways. And they're still holding the ban after a handful of friends have emailed them directly and said that was a movie quote and not a death threat. Take them off the ban. They're still ignoring it. So I filed a lawsuit against Facebook for that, because this show right here was supposed to be a weekly Facebook Go Live, and it's a launch to you get me going promoting small business self-employed endeavors, which would hopefully get me off from Social Security disability, so I'm not collecting a monthly check of the government's blood money. And so that will be coming up. This will be the end of part 1, episode 2 of Friday morning Pre-Curse-Rrr, and be looking for the video that will follow on Rumble that will be part 2 of this episode. We got more stuff to talk about. We got music coming up. We got plenty of comedy coming up, and a few more off-grid and survivalist sort of tips for you people that know that it's about time that you fucking defend yourself and revolt against the globalist government. One world religion, one world government and religion, bad if you read your Bible. Not good, no matter how good they try to make it look bad if you read Revelations. One world government and religion, we as Christians don't want it. Bye-bye, see you. We'll fight from the forest and the woods when you try to beat us down. And, you know, if you're gonna die, hashtag wise man say, hashtag Iron Maiden. If you're gonna die, die with your boots on. Be sure and catch part 2 of this episode. I got to get some stuff prepared for it, and I'm going to be recording that next.